Hi everyone, I'm Noelle Nakakura, your MC for tonight. Thank you for joining us for our Intro to Video Spring 2021 film screening. Despite all of the challenges that we have faced this semester, including lack of resources, not having the right film equipment, being thousands of miles apart from one another all around the world, and possibly being in quarantine or lockdown, we have all been able to persevere and adapt to these challenges to create these wonderful films for you. We hope you enjoy. Thank you so much.
Toes is a lot of fun. You can do a lot of things there. I've learned how to surf, obviously. I've learned how to windsurf there. That's where I first started windsurfing. I've certainly got into foiling the last few months for COVID, and I've gotten pretty good at foiling because of it. There's a lot of space and stuff like that, and around Toes is also really good. I mean, to the right of Toes is Signs, which is it's a good spot when it's big, and then to the left of it, it's good when it's like smaller. So there's a lot of variety of waves at Toes that you can ride. But there are the bad parts of Toes where it's pretty shallow on the inside. There's a lot of coral head, and you can kick the ground, you can kick a lot of the vana, and that can be pretty injuring sometimes. Surf etiquette is there's like a few like very solid rules to surf etiquette. The first few are like respect the elders, or respect the people who have been there before you, or the people who are older than you. A few others are like who's first on the wave, so whoever's deeper into a section is usually the person that has priority onto a wave. The person that's already standing up already usually has the wave. And then watch out your surroundings, or watch your surroundings. I've had instances where people are just paddling and they're not looking forward, and people have gotten close to spearing somebody's head off with the tip of their board. Like, just making sure that you are aware of your surroundings and not getting too close to people when you're on the wave, and where you could chop their legs or something like that. You hold your breath as you're going down the face of the wave, and you make that bottom turn, and you just know you're gonna make the section, and it's just something that not a lot of people really understand until you're put in that position. Catching a set wave when there's only that wave and everybody's watching you, and it's exhilarating, and it's just your time to shine. It honestly takes your breath away sometimes.
I came across the concept of a cat cafe through a film class I was in. Never heard of that before, so it definitely piqued my interest because I love cats and animals, and I just did a lot of research on the concept, how they came from Taiwan. They kind of spread across Europe, and then they eventually came to the States in the last like 10 years. So I was like, okay, but there's none in the South, so I want to like change that. So dropped out of school and then try to pursue opening a cat cafe.
As a manager, I would say I need to like keep track of a lot of the things we have here, and then facilitating adoptions, of course, which is something we both do, and then just making sure that everything's in order for every day.
Java Cats opened March 2017. I think Java Cats is an essential part of the community here. Because this is a place people come to work on their mental health, just being around animals, being around really hospitable baristas. I want people leaving here feeling better than when they walked in. And I think that's kind of translated through just us being here the last 4 years. We have our regulars that come in, and it's just a fulfilling experience, nothing like you can find in the city of Atlanta. So I think it's just a cool place to come for community and cats and coffee and just to feel good. So when COVID first came around, honestly, I didn't think it was gonna be what it was. We closed out of precaution for a couple of months, but it was a really daunting time, honestly. I felt like the entire year last year, once we were able to reopen, was just like every day I came into work, it was like, this is maybe the last week I'm gonna be here. Maybe this is the last month we're gonna be here. Like, I just didn't know with the capacity restrictions, we were making less than half the revenue. And when we were able to reopen, it felt a little irresponsible to do that so quick. And the fact that Georgia never really closed down like a lot of states like we should have was disappointing, because it meant we had to open. There was no choice. It's either we open or we close. And
with the pandemic, a lot of places were closed down and you couldn't get your cat or dog spayed or neutered there. Unfortunately, during those times, a lot of animals were having babies, and then the babies ended up in shelters, or unfortunately a lot of them were euthanized or died. And we were here and we were picking up the slack from that. A lot of people in animal rescue, as in we, and it It was kind of crazy. Another part that relates to the pandemic and animal welfare is that a lot of people unfortunately lost their jobs and lost a steady way to earn income and money. That they did have to give up their pets in order to take care of other bills. So we've had animals come here that were previously owned by someone who unfortunately lost their job due to COVID and could no longer take care of them. So I think that's very important as well, because we have to realize COVID affects people too.
I consider our business essential because the shelter was closed the entire last year. They weren't allowing volunteers, they weren't allowing adopters to come in. So I felt like we were essential because we stayed open and we had the highest rate of adoptions last year, even with half capacity. So we even had to close, other than being closed for COVID at times, we closed because we ran out of cats. So it was like a cool thing to see that we were needed and we were essential to stay open, to get cats adopted. And it gave my job more purpose and more like, it just made it more meaningful of like, this is why I do this. This is like why I'm here. And I feel like it was more important for us to be open than to be closed.
Even though there is a worldwide pandemic, and that is super important to think about, we also need to focus on our community and helping each other throughout it, as well as animals too. There's still animals that need our help every day, and we still gotta be here for them, you know?
I definitely think there's a correlation between animals and mental health. I've lived my whole life proving that, I guess. I think I've always found comfort in animals and investing in the care for animals. I just think there's an innocence about animals that it's just so pure and good. And I think people being around something so pure and good, it's just easier to feel happier and just better about life circumstances.
We have customers come in who literally say, I'm here for therapy. And they come in and they'll sit with the cats, and the cats will just calm them down. And I think it's really, really helpful. Owning a pet can actually, there's studies showing that it can reduce the risk of heart failure and heart attacks and stuff like that, which is also really great because they're very helpful with stress situations.
Our community is absolutely incredible. Our customers, our regulars, our supporters, there's never a need that's gone unmet. So while people come in here to get community and cat time, anytime that we've needed litter or food or funding for a cat that's in need, there's never been a need that's gone unmet. So our support is just incredible. Like our followers on social media, it keeps me going and we keep them going. So it's a very mutually beneficial relationship for sure.
It's great to see that anyone of any age can enjoy time here. We've had little kids celebrate their birthday here, and also even we had a man who was like probably in his 60s celebrate his birthday here with his family. So it's really great to see that break the stereotypes that cats are like for women, and that many people can come here and see cats with men or older people or all that good stuff.
I've built this here, but what like the community and like what people have done to make this what it is, it's just evolved into more like something I never even could possibly in my wildest dreams imagine it. This is a safe place for all people of all kinds, no matter what you look like, sound like, whatever. This is a place for everybody to feel like included and to feel like they're in a safe place with the cats, with the animals, with the people that are here.
Please come in and just support us. We will keep rescuing cats, but also even if you wanted to just talk and you had a cat related question, or even if you just wanted to come in and have some coffee and sit down and do some work, please support us. We would love to have you by. Every person in here should feel welcome, so we will make sure that you feel welcome here.
A curator is someone who searches and sources for different objects from different eras. And a fashion curator is someone who sorts...
Wait, you're probably confused. This is me, Joey, and I'm a curator. Curating is the searching and sourcing of objects from different eras. A fashion curator sources and finds clothes through different mediums or proxy services to eventually showcase them in collections and drops.
I started curating about a half a year ago because of two words: hysteric glamour. This is a Japanese brand that I'd only really known to do like collaborations with Supreme, but turned out had so much like clothes and basis for women's fashion, as women's fashion and children's fashion were the actual like designs and clothing that Hysteric Glamour actually put out before they started doing a lot more menswear. So when I actually got a hold of this, or when Depop started showcasing more of this clothes, I was just like, where is this coming from? It's super darn expensive, but I'm so interested because its vibrance and its peculiarity makes it so much more different from a lot of the clothes I've been coming in contact with, especially if I was just going to thrift. So I started, searching and sourcing myself because I was super determined. It was like, I know that everyone else who's been able to curate comes from the same type of, I need to figure out where this comes from. So I was like, in order to find that, my curiosity needs to be even more advanced because I'm at a disadvantage because of the fact that I'm just an American. So started searching, started sourcing, then went through the process of buying, then measuring, then wearing, then selling, and then repeat, because that's the best part of it. That whole 5-cycle process of curating is the best part of it, especially when receiving it in the mail. So.
Thrifting is the act of like going out somewhere and like physically picking up these cheaper items typically.
Junkyard. You go to a junkyard, you may find something, you may not. You don't really like go to a junkyard looking for like a washing machine or something, but if you find one, you're gonna find it. Like, you don't go to a thrift store to look for like Christian Dior or like some high vintage, designer piece, but if you find it, you find it.
I feel like it takes a certain amount of skill too to be thrifty, and so yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is that it's cheap and it kind of takes some skill to like know what you're doing.
This source of access to clothes became super popular in 2018 because of the return of the mom jeans. This Saved by the Bell style then transitioned into this large trend that we all know as Y2K. This obsession with Von Dutch hats and a blend of zip-up hoodies and platform shoes. Way more kids started showing up to their local Goodwill in search of these items for $10 or less.
So I think that one thing that I feel like has been a good thing about like more people thrifting is that like I've always had to thrift, and I know that like some of my siblings were kind of ashamed of that, and so I feel like it's made it kind of cooler to like, if you do need to thrift and like that's what your like income allows, then it's not like shameful anymore, which I feel like has been an interesting like impact on it.
Experience I had thrifting was when I found like some Prada pants and like Dolce & Gabbana pants in like the same store, and yeah, I was geeked when I saw that. I was really happy.
Thrifting then became an opportunity to make money. You buy clothes, you resell them at the same price or even more. It is a convenient source of income, until it's not so convenient for someone else, like those to which thrifting was made for.
I definitely feel like it impacted on, low income, people, because the pure essence of what a thrift store started out to be was for people that couldn't afford any clothes. And kids needed to go to school the next day, and moms who can only afford $3 worth of clothing. So send them to Goodwill, get some shoes, get a shirt, get pants, all for $3. And now it's turned to like this grandiose marketplace for a whole bunch of different types of clothing, that now those people that were buying school clothes the day before can't even buy them anymore, because now they raise the prices for those $1 pants to like $10 pants.
think there's always going to be high fashion brands no matter what, and they're always going to remain exclusive, which sucks. But it's kind of like the reality of it. Like, that's just how it's going to be. But thrifting, I think it will stay around because we've really gotten into it recently.
Thrift stores must remain a home to low-income families and communities. If they lose their access to these sources because of the gentrifying aesthetic, where are they supposed to shop?
Because of how much capitalism weighs in all of our lives, giving one, solid solution feels performative, because why would I have all the answers? I'm like one curator out of like probably many. So, but I can say that if we know that the actions of which we have most likely are potentially going to affect someone else, someone we all know is in a dire necessity for these things, then it is in our best interest to protect them first, because we are only partaking out of because we want to, not because we need to. And in order to respect those who, those little girls and those little boys that have to go to the thrift store with their parents because they can't afford clothes, we need to make sure they know that the society of us, those who thrift because we want to and thrift because we can and because it's cool, have to respect and let them know that them shopping out of their own needs in that type of way, that like that's okay as well. I want to be a part of a vintage loving community that appreciates what fashion brings, not what it can cost.
And I intend to stick to that.
So, one of the main reasons why I write poetry is definitely to find healing throughout, the traumas or heartbreak of life. And for me, being able to put those exact feelings into words is something I found very powerful within myself, and I think there's just something very unique to poetry within that, and I think that's why I'm so drawn to it. I first started becoming interested in poetry in my 7th grade English class specifically. It was something so different from all my math and science classes, and it became actually really easy for me just to write about literally anything. And I had never had a subject in school kind of speak to me like that. I actually write a lot about mental illness. I think that's something my younger self really struggled with, being vulnerable and being able to put my feelings and my emotions at the forefront. When I was younger, I never really wrote about being angry or being sad, and I think that's something that takes a lot more maturity to be able to talk about. I think how I feel when I write poems is usually like the most myself, like the most authentic self I have is when I'm just writing like in a notebook, usually writing whatever I feel like. And I think I find a certain peace while writing. It honestly makes me feel like I'm the only person like ever, like just in the world. I want people to know that they're not alone within their own thoughts and their own experiences. And I think a lot of writers feel as if their audience is able to heal with them. And I hope when people do read my poems that they feel that relationship, or they feel whatever they need to feel to be able to heal through whatever they're going through. I think I write a lot about my childhood and a lot about how I grew up. And so kind of that feeling of nostalgia, like kind of like your first childhood home. And usually when I write my poems, I kind of picture sunshine and summer and warmth. For some of my more serious poems, it's kind of hard for me to imagine, but I always just kind of think of the changing of seasons, honestly, because I think that has to do a lot with people's emotions as well. For me, recently, when like the pandemic started, that actually led to me having a really huge writer's block. Like I just couldn't write anything. I was so uninspired because I was just staying at home or I was just working. And it was something about that repetition, one that was really dreary and like really hard on me personally. Honestly, throughout the whole year, I really struggled with even writing like a poem, like not to even show it to the world, just to write anything. And hopefully I'm starting to kind of melt out of that, becoming further into 2021. I wrote a poem about the Black Lives Matter movement. I kind of just wrote about what people of color were feeling at this time, about all these movements. And I think at that time I realized that my poetry really could hold depth that could be relatable to a lot of different people and a lot of different groups of people. For me, poetry is something that I want to be remembered by, and I would love to be known for my writing and to be remembered for my writing because of how personal it is to me. So this poem is called My Beloved, and it's about my first ever relationship, but it's also about all the lessons I learned from being in that relationship and about self-love and self-reliance. My beloved. I go through different phases of being someone else. Sometimes people like them, and sometimes they do not. But I cannot stop growing. My body is a force and continues to change with time. The fire inside my belly gets hotter and hotter. People either try to ignite it or blow it out. I will always be someone else. Whether the moon or the sun, I will always change. Like the phases of the moon or the passing of the sun, I will always be on fire because the world gets dark and I have learned to see through it with the flame that I carry. I never carry other people or objects. It's always just been me.
food has been a very big form of like therapy for me, because it gives me the chance to really think about the things that I put into my body and how I want to nourish it, and it also takes place for being creative. And I don't know, cooking is just an immersive experience for me every single time, so I really enjoy the act of doing it. Hi, my name is Charlotte Castagna. I'm 19 years old. I'm a first year at SFSU studying environmental studies. And on my free time, I like to make art, be creative, cook, and roller skate. So basically, I didn't think I was going to be able to go live on campus because of the pandemic, but on a random day in like June, I got an email saying that I had a spot in the dorm, so I decided to take it up even though I was really nervous of how I was going to meet people. And I came and started doing all my classes, and I really struggled to make friends and at least get like real life connections with people, because in my dorm it's really like compartmentalized and no one really talks to each other because there's really heavy guidelines on COVID and where we can go and if we can even go to other people's places. So I found a lot of comfort in cooking, because it was like after I did all my classes and I was finally done with the day, I could actually do something that I wanted to do and have fun with it, because I like being creative and I am definitely a foodie. Yeah, so I basically live in a 5-person apartment dorm. So that means that there's 2 bedrooms, one with 2 beds and another one with 3 beds. So I had a roommate at the very beginning, and she left at the second semester. But we didn't really talk a lot, and we kind of just stayed in our rooms, so there was a lot of like isolation involved with that. And with the combination of being really just overworked from school and not really having a lot of social life, it took a really big toll on my mental health, and it was definitely a really hard time for me. But I just kept pushing through because I know that I really like living up in SF, and I knew that it was going to get better the more that time went on. I found out about a program through my school called Gator Groceries, and it's every Wednesday and Thursday from 11 to 1. And it's basically like a food pantry where they have boxes of donated food that you can get for free that otherwise would have been thrown away and pretty much wasted. So every Thursday after my first class of the day, I go to the building. There's a building called Cesar Chavez, and I go there and I get my groceries for the week, and I can usually expect to have a different variety of vegetables, potatoes, onions, celery, carrots, and most of the time I make a soup with all of that, and it lasts me a couple days, which is awesome. But for anything else that I don't get from Gator Groceries, there's a 5-minute walk to Trader Joe's from my dorm, and I just get some simple staple items such as like frozen things or snacks that are like for the pantry. I get that there, and then I usually just use the vegetables, and it usually comes out to be around like $60 for every 3 weeks. So that's $20 a week, and you can keep doing the math, and it's pretty cheap for me to be cooking on my own. It's a really rewarding experience to cook something all the way from scratch, and just really savor and enjoy it. It's honestly one of my favorite feelings.
My name is Irina Herrera.
My name is Melcher Herrera.
And we have been married for 22 years. An interesting fact about Salinas is the sports complex was a Japanese internment camp during World War II.
Another interesting fact about Salinas is John Steinbeck, who wrote of Mice and Men, East of Eden, and The Grapes of Wrath, was born and raised in Salinas.
I have been living in Salinas for 31 years.
I have been living in Salinas for 39 years.
I was born in Salinas but raised in Germany and Seattle, Washington.
My family immigrated from the Philippines to Salinas in 1980s.
I would describe Salinas as the salad bowl of the world because it is the largest export of produce in the world.
I would describe Salinas as a perfect weather because it is not too hot and not too cold year round.
My favorite place to go in Salinas is the Northridge Mall because I love shopping and I used to work there.
My favorite place to go in Salinas is the Bala Center Bowl because I love bowling and it's bringing me back memories.
My favorite memory of Salinas is when Mel and I bought our first home together.
My favorite memory of Salinas is cruising downtown with the homies in our sports cars.
I chose to live in Salinas because of my family.
I chose to live in Salinas because of my family too.
I would recommend Salinas to people because it is a small town with great food, people, and entertainment.
I would recommend Salinas to people because of the perfect weather and everyone knows one another here.
Salinas means family to me because this is where I was born and chose to raise a family.
Salinas means family to me too because this is where I grew up and made lifelong friends.
You've come back again, I see.
I always do. You're getting kind of fat. Are you sure you want to eat that? Just forget about him. He doesn't like you. You should date someone rich. So you're too lazy to be a doctor? You could have done better, you know. You're supposed to be better. You just disappoint me. You just disappoint everyone.
No, I don't.
I go by Face. F-A-C-E, classic spelling. Graffiti it's kind of a unfiltered medium, you know, there's nobody curating it other than the artist. So whether it's a social movement or just, you know, a graffiti writer's name, it's this kind of opportunity to communicate with the public, like directly, you know, with an audience without, you know, any of like a gallery curator or, you know, getting in a book or a magazine or a TV show. Like this is just like, you know, one-stop shop, cut out the middleman, and you can talk, you can talk to the public. Graffiti kind of becomes this kind of voice of a movement, a revolution, or whatever it may be. I was never good at art, like I couldn't draw, but graffiti kind of took it and spun it, so, you know, I never had patience. I've always kind of had like a tag or a thing, like, I mean, I think since I was like, I don't know, maybe like 11, like I got into this whole graffiti thing. Seeing kind of, because every graffiti artist has like their name and like that's their identity, and whether they're writing it or like it represents, you know, like the character or whatever it is. And then eventually, you know, I started getting into like, you know, kind of more traditional like graffiti letters and like acrylic markers, like the kind of like chrome, you know, drip pen. So to backtrack a little bit, the name Face kind of emerged out of this. So I had a brand in high school that emerged out of a graffiti name that I had played around with in like middle school, which was like Ace. So it was like this, show the camera. At that point I was going by Ace. When I got the markers, I was just looking for a different letter to put in front of Ace to like make it something. It's like Case, Mace, you know, and I like stumbled upon Face and I was like, oh, Face is kind of cool, and I just drew this beanie guy, like, you know. And eventually I started thinking, I was like, well, you know, where can I put it where it's just directly in front of other people? So, you know, I started sticking it on the crosswalk signs where people have to like wait and they're just kind of looking around, like they're kind of just like forced to like see this drawing and kind of maybe have a dialogue about it or just like think about it, or, you know, they're stopping at this light every day. I don't know, it worked, and I think that's like why I started drawing the characters, because the name worked, and then like I kind of ditched the name. Like I started signing it with like just the letter F sometimes, or like I just wouldn't even like put a letter, and it just kind of like emerged and became a face. As for, you know, the times and the practice of doing it, I would just kind of have a pen on me at all times, like, you know, I would never hit my face or try to do it at night, or, you know, try to sneak around. Like, I mean, in broad daylight, like I got so quick at doing it that I could pretend like I was tying my shoe and just do it on the floor, on the block. For me, you know, I always saw graffiti as kind of people that do graffiti or have an interest in the graffiti are the ones that notice it. You know, those are the, like, I'm reading like the names that are up there, you know, like people that are like, you know, you kind of start to notice the different names and the different tags and stuff. How do you like become somebody that people notice, you know? Because to a certain extent it kind of just becomes like white noise. You know, you see a wall that's all tagged up and it's 6 different stickers. Like, I'm the one that's noticing my sticker when I walk by it. I had people asking me if I was the guy that was doing it, and, you know, since I drew it everywhere, you know, I had it on my notebook and like, you know, my laptop and stuff, and you're like, oh, you're the guy that does it. I was like, oh shit, so you guys are noticing. So it's like, it was kind of going around, it was kind of like a proof of concept, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I think, you know, looking back on it, like, I think it was just like the magnitude. Like, when I tell you, like, there was a point in time that you could not go. It was like, if you were at one of my, like, out of the faces, you could like see 3 or 4, like, within, like, you know, visual distance. So I was getting carried away. I guess they had brought in like a graffiti detective working the case, and they say, well, we're gonna need you to come down to the station. They start asking me, they start sliding over like, you know, pictures of the tags, and they're like, oh, are you, do you know what these are? Yeah, I've seen these around. I was like, because I'm like, I don't know how much I should say right now, you know, I've never been in this situation. We have you on video. And they slide over a video of me just doing the tag. That was the one that got me. But after that, it was like, yeah, that's me. It was scary, so nothing. They asked to go search my room. Any TV show or anything teaches you, you know, oh, they need a warrant, which, I mean, only goes so far because they can ice the room. basically what this graffiti detective does is his whole job, is he like will get anything, so it's tools and proof that you are the one that's doing it. So the markers that I did it with and the drawings that I did it, so he was taking all my notebooks, my sketchbooks, you know, taking pictures of all my clothes. So they had enough to build the case. And I was able to, you know, kind of get community service, and you know, I had to pay restitution. I think the big thing was like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, look, I wasn't out here, you know, trying to damage property. I didn't have a malicious intent. I mean, the markers were in spray paint. You know, you take any paint thinner, you can just wipe it right off. You don't have to repaint a building facade. It was going to be a felony because of how many pictures you have. Since I've kind of migrated to doing more digital stuff, I really enjoy, you know, graphic design and, you know, kind of the avenues that can, you know, have, because that means equally, like that really has a strong voice. You know, you're communicating with a strong typography, messaging, like everything is purposeful. I try to be, you know, a genuine person. I am kind of, you know, who I am to different people. Hopefully they'll remember the beanie guy.
My name is Taya Blank, born and raised in Berkeley, and then just like staying here. And I don't know, I like the Bay Area, so I'm just gonna be moving around in different parts of the Bay. I mean, I love everything that basically has to do with tattooing. I mean, I got into it because of the art of it. I've always been an artist. I grew up kind of in an artistic household, but I like the fact that you can get like custom work from somebody and then take it with you, and you can like go around and just have like paintings and like pieces of art that people have made specifically for you, and then you get to look at it all the time.
My name is Sid. I am a non-binary scratcher in the city of San Francisco. Scratcher means someone that does tattoos but was self-taught, so they never received an apprenticeship. I think the thing that interested me the most about tattoos was the history. There's so much to tattooing. It's really cool how it is a historical / cultural thing for many different people. It can be like a punk thing and like an anarchy thing, but it's also not. It's also just like art. It's just beautiful, you know.
I love a client that trusts you, and like you can tell that they actually mean that they want you to do art for them, and they want like you to take their idea and make it something special for them. You can really tell if someone trusts you with a design and a piece, and I really appreciate that.
Oh man, I just love collaborating with people. Working with people and collaborating with people is something that there's like a feeling that I get that like never goes away every single time I work with someone. So I think collaborating on like any custom tattoo, it automatically makes it like one of my favorite tattoos, just because the process, like the texting back and forth is just like, yeah, I know, yeah, that's great, like that's a great idea, like oh my god, yeah, let me sketch it up, you know, like it's just like so much fun.
I do have some like weird tattoos that I'm so sad I never got to do. Like I have them designed in my sketchbook, but I never got to do them. One of the ones that I never got to do, but it was a very fun concept. He had asked me to do a Donkey Kong tattoo. And you know, there's a princess that he usually kidnaps in the video games. I don't know this. I'm not very good at video games. He's nailed down before her, tied up in shibari with a banana gag, and the princess is standing over him in like dominatrix looking outfit with a whip. And I was so bummed I couldn't do it because that was a really fun concept.
It's so funny that whenever I do Flash, you know, I do Flash and I have like people in mind, kind of like I'm like, oh, I feel like this type of person would like this type of tattoo. You know, I feel like this type of person would love this type of tattoo. I kind of try to make it like a range of tattoo ideas every single time I produce a Flash sheet. I try to make sure that I'm like seeing everyone. And it's so wild how like the people that hit me up, the people that are like, hey, I want that tattoo, I'm like I am so glad that you chose that tattoo because it's perfect. Like, it just makes so much sense. Like, I would say that my art is kind of influenced by the artists that I love and probably by drugs and love, lots of love. And recently I started drawing darker things, more like goth inspired pieces. So I think that's where I'm at right now.
I'm always a big fan of figure drawing, and I like putting that into my art. And so anything that has to do with like the body and trying to like make the natural curves of the body, and I try to translate that in my pieces. And then I like doing mermaid tattoos, and so that leans more into curves because then you can like exaggerate curves and lines and then have that anti-gravity feel of something being underwater. So that's why you can do like flowy hair and then like a really swirly tail or something like that. I think this most recent one I did was like these two curvy couples, and they were kinky, and they were like, basically my client was like, do whatever you want with this front of my leg. I want it to be curvy mermaids, I want them to be in love, I maybe want them to be kinky, maybe some color, but I just wanted to like represent queerness. I'm like, I got this.
My friend's girlfriend, Claire, got a tattoo of ribs, like an arm cuff, like right here. And again, like when I was drawing up the tattoos, I had this type of person in mind. And without a doubt, every single piece that I've drawn, or like certain pieces that I've drawn, certain people will reach out to me. And sometimes I don't even like think about the correlation between that person's energy and then like that tattoo's energy, but it just always like comes full circle. And I think that like that is really awesome. Like that is really special, and I think that every single time that happens, it automatically becomes like my favorite tattoo. At the moment, it's like my favorite.
देवी।
हाँ भाभी।
8:30 बजने वाले हैं, घर नहीं जाना क्या?
हाँ बस निकल ही रही थी।
अच्छा बेबी, एक बात पूछ सकती हूँ तुमसे?
हाँ हाँ भाभी।
तुम बहुत दिनों से ओवर टाइम कर रही हो, घर पे सब ठीक है ना? कुछ पैसे वगैरह?
क्या है ना, मेरे बच्चों की फीस भरनी थी इसीलिए।
पर मुझे लगा तुमने तो अपने बच्चों की स्कूल फीस 2 महीने पहले ही भर दी थी, वो भी पूरे साल की।
भाभी वो मेरे पति को थोड़े पैसों की ज़रूरत है।
देखो देवी, तुम हमारे यहाँ बहुत टाइम से काम कर रही हो। अगर तुम्हें पैसों की या किसी भी चीज़ की ज़रूरत है या फिर कोई भी प्रॉब्लम है तो तुम मुझसे कभी भी बोल सकती हो।
भाभी काफ़ी समय हो गया, मेरे बच्चों का ना कल एग्ज़ाम है तो मैं चलती हूँ। नमस्ते।
ये टाइम है क्या घर पे आने का? किधर थी? कहाँ थी?
देवी, मैं आ गई हूँ, खाना लगा दो। देवी, 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 क्या हो गया तुम्हें? फिर से? अच्छा ठीक है, तुम रोना बंद करो।
अगर मुझे मारता तो फिर भी ठीक है, मगर मेरे बेटे को।
मतलब?
मेरा बेटा भाभी।
तुम्हारे बेटे को भी? देखो, ये पहले भी बहुत बार हो चुका है। मैं अभी पुलिस को बुलाती हूँ, बहुत हो गया।
रहने दो भाभी, अगर वो जेल चला भी गया तो वापस आकर यही करेगा।
पर पुलिस तुम्हारे
मेरा घरेलू मामला है भाभी, पुलिस वगैरह कुछ नहीं करेगा। भाभी मैं खाना लगा देती हूँ।